When we think of pirates, we inevitably think of grumpy sailors with one eye covered, wooden legs, and their trademark hand, on sailing voyages with a skull and crossbones flag. In reality, however, there are still pirates today, and of course, they are much more modern, making them a huge danger. In today's video, we want to show you the sickening life of the last real pirates. So stay tuned here at Wise Fool. While pirates were once known to travel all 7 seas, modern pirates are mostly active on the coast of West Africa. Of the 135 pirate kidnappings worldwide in 2021, 130 abductions took place in this region, making the sea off West Africa the most dangerous maritime region on the planet. Pirates have now almost completely withdrawn from the waters off Somalia, which a few years ago was considered a pirate's El Dorado. But how do modern pirates live? How do they carry out their raids? And why do they do it all? Most of today's pirates come from Ghana and Nigeria. Instead of using heavy sailing ships, they usually travel in agile speedboats, which they use to run towards cargo ships approaching or just leaving ports. By the time the freighter crew spots the pirates, it is usually too late, as they are not only quick to get to the ship, but are also fully armed with firearms, and sometimes with heavy weapons such as bazookas. The raids are almost always the same. The pirates force their way onto the cargo ships by force of arms and try to capture as many people as possible. Instead of gold and treasure as they used to do in the past, these days they mainly hunt hostages, as they are much more valuable to them. After the pirates kidnap people and take them to their hideouts in their speedboats, they usually contact the shipping company of the cargo ship or the country it comes from and try to extort a ransom. The pirates then usually take the money. On the one hand, of course, because human life is valued more today than it used to be, and shipping companies want to return their seafarers safe and sound. And on the other hand, because the cargo ships sailing off the West African coast have all taken out special insurance against pirate attacks nowadays. Pirate attacks are therefore a real business model for modern pirates. But what kind of people go on such heavily armed attacks in 2023? The scary answer to this is that most pirates were not originally ruthless criminals, but ordinary people. They are often very young men from Nigeria and Ghana who live in abject poverty in their own country and see no prospects in life.
No shade, no water, then we are feeling hungry.
The criminal financiers behind the scenes, who have a lot of money and power, then recruit these young men and promise them riches. Driven by the desire for wealth, or simply for a better life, the men, often previously working as day laborers and living very poorly, then take up work as pirates. For the young pirates, everything usually starts as a great adventure, and young men often convince themselves that what they are doing is perfectly fine. After all, in their eyes, they are only stealing from rich foreigners, who are partly responsible for the fact that they and their families have to live in such abject poverty. According to their logic, pirates are simply taking back what is rightfully theirs. The daily life of a pirate is very rough. They usually capture ships at night, lurk in their hideouts on the coast during the day, and wait for information about when a promising cargo ship will pass by. They get this information not only from their comrades on watch, but also from corrupt officials in the ports, whom they bribe with money. Before the pirates start their raids, they often get into the mood with a lot of alcohol and try to banish their guilt. The illegal white powder keeps them awake, increases their aggression, and makes them ruthless. Sometimes the pirates are at sea for 20 or 30 days at a time, while drunk and under immense pressure to carry out a successful raid, as their bosses expect results from them. The raids are usually very coordinated. Pirates have a strict hierarchy and predefined tasks that everyone has to fulfill. The pirate bosses, who finance everything, remain in the background and do not participate in the raids themselves. The more experienced pirates mainly carry out the raids, while the newcomers initially act as guides and guards for the later kidnapped victims in order to learn their trade. During the attacks, they usually run toward the ship they want to attack and sometimes shoot in the air as a warning when they get close to the target. The pirates then climb over the side of the ship and board the cargo ships. Then the crew members are threatened with the use of weapons, and the pirates learn who the most senior crew members are. This is because they usually bring the most ransom money later. In general, everything has to happen quickly, as pirates rely heavily on the element of surprise. This is why it rarely takes more than 15 minutes from boarding the ship to leaving with the hostages. Meanwhile, the guides wait down below on the speedboats so that they can leave as soon as it's all over. After the robberies, a wild party ensues. Just like in the old pirate movies, there is a lot of wine, women, and song. The only difference is that today, of course, pirates no longer party in special pirate taverns, but in discos, clubs, and bars. This is where they usually spend much of their money, as many former pirates have revealed in interviews. And we are indeed talking about huge sums of money, even for us, but especially for the economic situation of Ghana or Nigeria. Shipping companies are paying millions for the release of hostages or the release of their ships. Of course, most of this is pocketed by the rich financiers who hire the pirates and equip them with boats and weapons. However, a single raid can even earn each pirate between $15,000 and $55,000, depending on his position in the pirate group. To put this in perspective, the average income in Ghana is less than €200 per month. Even a doctor there earns only about €700 each month. Young pirates, who mostly made their living with odd jobs before their pirate career, can earn 75 to 275 times the normal monthly salary with a robbery. You can imagine that young men then spend a lot of money. Former pirates describe their share of the loot as fabulous, which they invest in parties, drugs, real estate, expensive luxury cars, and women. However, pirates usually also use some of the money to support their poor families. Local governments are happy to turn a blind eye, although they might naturally consider the question of why young men suddenly have huge sums of money at their disposal. After all, pirate spending naturally boosts the economy in poor areas, and the revenue from pirates allows many legitimate businesses to sustain themselves. As you can see, the issue of piracy is more complex than you might think at first glance. So please let us know in the comments how you think this problem should be addressed. We are curious. By the way, pirates usually end up with almost none of the money they earn from their raids and kidnappings, as they are mostly young, uneducated, and unable to manage their sudden wealth. So they continue their robberies. In general, once you start working as a pirate, it is hard to stop. On the one hand, they have all committed serious crimes themselves, and are exposed to the risk of being prosecuted if they try to return to normal life. On the other hand, they are also under pressure from their powerful financiers and associates. In addition, as mentioned earlier, most pirates generally lack a good outlook on life. While pirates pose a huge threat to navigation in the waters off West Africa, pirates themselves do not live without danger. Shipping companies are increasingly arming themselves to protect themselves from attacks. Among other things, there are now large coils of wire on the railings of many ships to make it difficult to board them. But that is not all. Heavily armed security soldiers, who are not afraid to shoot, are also often part of the equipment of large ships. However, this often puts shipping companies in the realm of illegality. Once they enter the territorial waters of countries like, for example, Ghana, the coastal area where most attacks take place, the monopoly on the use of force belongs to the country. Simply put, only the police or the army of the country can legally use armed force. This is, after all, the case in most countries. The problem in West Africa is that countries do not guarantee the safety of ships in their waters. And this is exactly why the last real pirates are active there. That was our video for today. Leave a like if you enjoyed it and subscribe. Bye and see you next time here at Wise Fool.